to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome to the show, one and all for one.
Especially you.
And you.
Driving that car.
You think they're driving right now?
Yeah, I do. I think they're driving.
I think they're working out.
Ooh, that's a good one, too.
Getting fit?
Hot take.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Get your sweat on.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. I'm Andy Holloway, joined as always by Mike, the Fantasy Hitman Wright.
What's going on, everybody?
And
I'm here.
Jason Moore.
I think they're working out in their car on the drive. They brought their dumbbells
That's what I
with
do.
them.
No, I don't bring the dumbbells. You know what you do? You get the electronic ab pack.
Yes,
Man.
that's my type of workout.
I've never worked out harder.
nothing.
Integrate that into the seatbelt is what they need to do.
Oh.
That's a $1 million idea right there.
Right, because those other ones work so well.
Well, you see the results?
Exactly. Welcome to the show. We've got a good one. It's a mailbag episode. We're going to be answering questions from you, the Foot Clan, the listeners of the show, all episode long. We're going to break down some news. Got a quick question for the guys, and it should be a really good show. It is Thursday, February 18th, also known as almost the NFL Combine.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, only a couple weeks before free agent negotiations take place, which is right when, then we're going to be into the draft, and we're off and running.
Well, then we're in training camp.
I don't even remember
mini camps.
who was in the Super Bowl. It was so long ago.
It doesn't matter.
Was it the Penguins, the Pittsburgh?
It doesn't matter.
No?
We're on to next year.
All right, before we get into the quick question, we do want to bring up something that we'd love you to join in with us and go to the website fantasysportsforall.com. And let me tell you why. You're not you've probably seen the news, and you've seen all the different daily fantasy sport and fantasy sport kind of legal things going on in state-by-state basis, right? It's legal in this state, or this attorney general says that they don't want it to be legal here, and so it's kind of it's a big issue for the industry, and not just for daily fantasy, but for season-long fantasy too, because that's the majority of this show is season-long. We do some DFS content.
Yeah, it affects everything.
It does. It affects the whole landscape of the sport, and so specifically in Arizona on Thursday, we've got another Senate bill
Today, this morning at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
If you're listening when this show is released, there is a Senate bill going in Arizona to make sure that this gets righted. So go to fantasysportsforall.com. Make your voice heard, especially
it's
if you're in
very
Arizona.
easy to do too, and it would be a big help to the show and to the industry in general. If you enjoy playing fantasy sports, which 50 million of you do, then go to fantasysportsforall.com. You can basically just put your name in, and you can contact a representative in your local area and just make your voice heard. Because one of the big things, and we'll move on after this, but the biggest thing that actually is a problem for the legality of fantasy sports in all these states is a lack of education at the legislative and at the leadership level of just what fantasy sports is. They see commercials, or they see, are people winning money over here, but they don't really understand the dynamics of a skill-based, fun, we all play for fun. That's why you're playing. And so we're asking you to join with us and many other fantasy players around the globe at fantasysportsforall.com and let your voice be heard, and hopefully we can get this, we all want it to be fair and regulated in a good way in all these states so that everybody can play and have fun.
Well done.
That's the gist. So
well done.
Quick question of the day. All right, who's your pick for the Cam Newton of 2016?
Whoa, he's got right into it.
The undervalued late-round quarterback, couple of years back. And again, it's February. So
Yeah.
shot in the dark, all right? Just throw a name out there. A couple years back, it would have been Andrew Luck, right? You got him in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, and he gave you that number one quarterback season. And we like drafting quarterbacks late. So, look into the crystal ball. I'm going to use the word could. Who could be that Cam Newton?
All right, I'm up first because I don't want Mike to steal my guy.
Say, I got 2 names.
All right, so that's great.
Let's see if you
I
take
got
one.
3, so I'm safe. So
I'm
I'll go
gonna-
last.
I've got 4 names.
I'm going to go with a guy who is going in the 8th round right now, the 10th quarterback off the board. So he's going to be able to be had. A couple years ago, he finished as the number 3 quarterback. Last year, he was on pace for the numero uno spot.
This was one of my names.
And Andy Dalton should not be forgotten. If you can grab Andy Dalton late, if you can grab him late, why spend an early pick on another guy? Grab a great running back or a great wide receiver early and grab Andy Dalton in the 8th, 9th round.
Yeah, I like it.
That was absolutely one of my names. Was a great point. Do not forget, he was dominating for fantasy purposes. Hugh Jackson is gone. Maybe they take to the air a little bit more. So that's an offense we need to watch. So now that name is out of the way, I'm going to go with the guy we talked about on Tuesday's show, or I talked about him in the overreaction, and that is Phillip Rivers, who is going in the 9th round as the 12th quarterback off the board, according to fantasyfootballcalculator.com. Let us not forget about him. He was also one of the top 3 quarterbacks until his entire offense fell down the stairs and got beat up and injured, but he was doing amazing things through the air. So he's a guy that I will be targeting late, that I absolutely can see him finishing top 3 as long as everyone stays healthy over there.
That's very fair. I will give you 2 names. One is a little bit higher odds at the number 1 spot, and that will be Carson Palmer. I don't see any reason why.
Yeah,
the offense, David Johnson, all the reports coming out of Arizona is he'll be the bell cow. He has the pass-catching ability out of the backfield, and they have all the weapons there. But the name I'm going to just bring it up so you remember this day. It's Marcus Mariota. I believe Marcus Mariota is going to have a very surprising fantasy football year and a much, much more consistent and possibly upper echelon year. So I think that is a name I'm going to throw out there. Any other thoughts?
I have one last thought, which is I'm just happy that we did not throw Kirk Cousins out there. That was all.
Thought about it.
I knew that he would be floating around in that brain, and I'm just so happy that neither of you.
I'm not sure. I believe he can finish as a number 1 guy, but he absolutely can be a middle tier quarterback 1.
Sure. The best thing about the Kirk Cousins discussion and any of these is that we can't predict what will be a running joke / issue in the show, but you can see the foundations here for a good Kirk Cousins in your face. You like that for the entirety of next year when he does well. So it'll be
in one of our faces. 'Cause I'm in the anti-Kirk camp right now.
Yeah. So all right, let's move on.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, just a couple bits of news. The salary cap is expected to be at least $155 million. Money. That is up, what, $12 million?
Yeah, right around there. And some people are going to get some quiche.
There are some teams with a lot of cash.
Even more now.
Jacksonville cannot probably spend all their cash. Oakland has a lot of cash.
Yeah, it's so these free agents, guys like a Doug Martin, is just sitting at home, wringing his hands together, thinking about all that money he's going to get.
Yeah, well, he will. He'll get paid. Another free agent, running back, we talked about him on the show last week when we talked about the coaching changes with Adam Gase going to Miami, and we speculated that maybe, Lamar Miller might actually be best off, or at least I did, staying home in Miami and being used the right way by Adam Gase, which you assume if Lamar, he's come out and said he wants to be used in the right system. And so if Gase could convince him of that fact and he stayed home, that could be very good. And then news broke out of the Miami Herald that they definitely want to re-sign him.
Which is...
It could be talk. I mean...
That was a little surprising to me. It's not so much that they want to re-sign him, but the fact that we've basically heard nothing. Mom has been the word in Miami about trying to bring Lamar Miller back, so they finally come out publicly and are trying to make sure that support is out there, that the public knows they at least want to consider bringing him back.
They might want to consider. Well, part of the problem was they are one of the teams in a bad cap position. So if the cap does go up, a lot of money, then they're in a position to at least make an offer.
That's a fair point. And so We're going to go ahead and spend the rest of our time today answering questions. Your fantasy questions, they span the gamut, keepers, dynasty leagues. You also have questions about like league formation, commish type things. We love answering those questions. I think a lot of people have them because everybody wants to make a great league.
Yeah.
And so you wonder, how do I start to do that? And so if you have those questions, send them in as well. You can go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, and you can click on the submit a question button. And let's go ahead and get into it.
Mailbag.
Mailbag episode. It's not short.
It's not short.
Long form.
We got a little bit of grief on the extra episode, the Patreon mailbag show, for forgetting that drop.
Oh, we did.
Did we really?
We forgot the drop.
Unbelievable.
So disappointment was flooding.
Well, today we'll have another Patreon exclusive mailbag show coming out too. So we are for the people, of the people, and by the people.
I'm composed of people.
This is more of a patriotic show.
Well, speaking of the people, let's see.
Let's
what
talk
Elliott.
to Elliott.
Yeah.
Elliott.
Is that E.T.?
I think Jason choked on his
I didn't
coffee.
see that one coming, and I liked it a lot. Probably more than it deserved. But
I was a little surprised by the reaction.
go E.T. I was in the process of drinking the coffee, and I didn't see it coming.
Well, like you're not really the reference guy.
No.
So that's why it's shocking.
It's very nice though. All right.
I'm the briefs guy. All right. Elliott in Redlands, California. We got to keep one, and then they go back into the draft pool in 2017. Who's it going to be? So keep Jordy for is that right, for an 18th?
18th. Yeah, probably. He was injured.
Freeman for a 13th. Marty McBride for an 8th. And Allen Robinson for a 6th round pick. It's just so you know, it's a half-point PPR league. You start 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 2 flex.
That's a tough one right off of the gates. With you got the ultimate value there, or you have rising superstars Bryant and Robinson for a decent value for where they're going to go next year.
For me, I don't think it's that difficult. If this was my team, I don't think I can pass up Devonta Freeman in the 13th round. I am still a full believer that they are going to use him in the game, and while he might not replicate what he did this year, he's going to be the guy there. He is involved in the passing game a lot, and so for a 13th round value to get an RB1, I think is great.
For Freeman, it's where I still don't buy into him as the player, but just those targets. The targets were astronomical for him, especially considering he wasn't really involved in the first 2 games. So him in the 13th is pretty solid. I think I'm gonna go Martavis in the 8th.
It was between Freeman and Martavis for me, but it's Freeman for me. So I'll
I have no
my
problem
vote
with
into
that.
the Freeman camp there. So Eric in where is this?
Muncie?
Indiana?
Did you guys ever play
Muncie, Indiana?
Muncie.
In elementary school when you go down to the computer lab? Did you guys ever play Number Munchers on the old Apple?
when you went down to the computer labs?
Oh,
you didn't have computer lab?
No, we did, but like with the the paper that printed out with the holes
dot
in it.
matrix?
Dot matrix. That's
Yeah,
what
no,
I was
but
looking
like
at.
you would have the Apple computers
Number
where
Munchers. I don't remember
it's
that.
just the
All
green
apples.
screens. It's just green. So Number Munchers, he's
Yeah,
basically just a
I played
mouth.
Oregon Trail on those.
Yeah,
Oregon
but Number Munchers is in that category.
Dino Park Tycoon. That was my jam. Oh, that was my jam.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All you got to do, hire as many employees as you can, and you make a lot of money.
Hot tip.
Hot tip.
That's what his question's about, actually. No.
All right.
Eric, hey, footballers, I wanted to ask your opinion on who I should keep for my 10-person keeper league. I only get to keep 2 people, and they can't be the same position.
All right.
I have Des Bryant, a wide receiver, and so he says that's his obvious pick, but he needs some help deciding at running back. Carlos Hyde, TJ Yeldon, Char West, Thomas Rawls, and Tevin Coleman. Originally thinking Yeldon, since Hyde had such a poor outing this year, but now I'm undecided. There's one name that should be strongly considered.
We can all say it at the same time,
Yeah.
and you can do it in your car because this one sticks out as clearly the best.
It's
Uno, dos, tres.
Thomas
Rawls.
There was an interesting.
No? Oh, Andy's giving some
Andy's face.
My face said that I don't know if I would say clearly the best as an option. I think it's very possible Seattle signs somebody that would get significant snaps there. I don't think they want Rawls to be.
Would you say
down all year.
Would you say your mind is telling you no?
But my body is telling me yes. Telling you Rawls.
Tell me Rawls.
I think Yeldon should be in consideration. I would still take Rawls, but
there was an interesting debate going on our Twitter.
And Hyde should be thought about still.
We're talking about Rawls and because Matt Kelly from PlayerProfiler.com was voicing that he doesn't really like Rawls, and I'm trying to figure out what it is because he doesn't like the sample size, and like for as much as we love David Johnson here, and I'm 100% confident, they basically have the same amount of games with a workhorse sample size. Like Rawls has 6 games where he has 16 plus carries, and David Johnson essentially has 6 games where he was the featured running back. So I was trying to figure that out. We haven't got to the bottom of it yet. But for me, the answer to this question is Rawls as of right now. I'm with Andy that somebody could be brought in, but if they don't make a move, let's say Seattle doesn't really make a move at running back position, then it's clearly Rawls for you?
It is.
Okay.
It is. Just such a great offense to be a part of in that situation. Yes, Hyde could bounce back, but San Francisco.
I like Hyde.
You got variables there. They were a bad team last year. You're playing a tough division, facing the Cardinals defense, the Seattle defense, and the Rams defense.
I'm curious.
The Los Angeles Rams.
Did we say St. Louis?
We've said St. Louis many times and have been chastised.
And we will continue to for a while because
until they get on the buses.
Yeah. But let's say Rawls is out because I'm just curious for you guys, Carlos Hyde or TJ Yeldon?
Oh, man.
I'm going to go with Yeldon because I think his workload is completely secure. I think what he's going to be doing, and, the injuries for Hyde last year, I think Yeldon's just locked in, man.
It's ironic because I think I'm going to go Hyde for the ironic part, the same reason. I think his workload is more locked in.
How is it more locked in? I mean, because Yeldon has already had it.
No, but they've said they've got to get a better backup to him, somebody that can share the load.
No,
and I think
that
they're
is
going
not
to do
what
that
they
this
have
year.
said.
I think they're going to do that.
Okay. They said that they needed
Mike,
somebody.
tie break this.
I'm with Jason that I do think Jacksonville wants to add someone. They don't want Yeldon.
Oh, they want to add somebody, but it wasn't for sharing the load. It was because Denard couldn't do it when Yeldon was out.
Not sharing the load, but just to ease some of it. And when you're going player versus player, I think Hyde is a better running back. But the opportunity for Yeldon right now says that's where I would go.
So you answered both.
All right. I'm saying right now it would be Yeldon, but it's the same thing for you with Rawls, where if Jacksonville adds somebody, then that would flip me over to Hyde.
Okay. They'll add somebody too. For sure. Probably okay, two guys.
When I say add somebody, that's the wrong phrase. Add somebody of note who doesn't look like simply anything more than a backup.
So Reggie Bush will be back?
I don't think he will.
Okay.
He's not under contract.
No, he's just free agent, right?
Yeah, and he tore his meniscus.
But he said he's coming back.
Well, he's got a lot of lawyer stuff to be doing.
You mean suing them for what happened?
Yep. He's busy.
All right. Next question comes in from Cliff in Baltimore. Any chance you guys will add a flex column to your rankings next year? I am trying to decide between the 10th ranked running back, or he wants to be able to decide between like the 10th ranked running back or a 12th ranked wide receiver.
We are absolutely making improvements to the ranking page.
Yeah, whether or not the flex will be in there is still part of seeing how much we can get done in this off-season time. We stat all the guys out, so it is possible to do, but no promises there, Cliff.
No promises. Oh, you know what? One piece of news we didn't break? The Joique Bell news.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
He was cut.
Oh, that's so weird. That's so weird.
Zach Zenner.
That actually is an important piece of news. Joique Bell has been cut from the Lions. Before we all freak out, of my camp, of the Amir Abdullah people, I agree. Zach Zenner, and also do not forget about Theo Riddick. these guys, the latter of the two, that have right now have an increased sneaky value to them that you might be able to acquire cheaper. Right now,
by far, I like Theo Riddick more than anybody in the backfield today.
But I'm saying, like, if you're trying to make a move based on this, I guarantee the person who has Amir Abdullah has just shot the asking price up for Abdullah. You might be able to get a Zenner or a Riddick still, though, without a major difference of value.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's what I was saying. I love Riddick. I think Riddick is the guy to own there. Todd, in New York City, what round would you draft these running backs in? David Johnson.
I would be willing to draft him in the first, probably.
Todd Gurley and Thomas Rawls are the other two.
Definitely first. And Thomas Rawls, to me, is probably a second rounder.
They are all first-round picks to me.
Depending on where I am and the way the draft is going, I'd probably be willing to take all of them in the first round.
And then he wants them in order, yeah.
I'd go Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Thomas Rawls.
I would go David Johnson. And then I have to see how the scenarios play out for both teams. Right now, if I say Rawls above Gurley, I am in no way, shape saying that I think Rawls is a better running back. I just think that I'm going to factor in the opportunity and the scoring power of an offense that might lean me to Rawls.
I'm going to go Gurley, Johnson, and Rawls. You guys got to remember the Los Angeles Rams were 7-9 with the worst quarterback play you can imagine. That team is...
And how is it going to get better?
How can it not?
That's absolutely the right point, Jason.
There's no way.
It cannot get better.
No, so let's say it doesn't get better. Let's say it stays exactly the same. You still have an RB1 in Todd Gurley.
And you have a 7-9 team. You have a team that is right on the cusp, and the odds of their quarterback play getting worse is very, very low.
I'm not saying worse, but staying exactly the same.
I think
Gurley
it's likely to get better.
What he did this year, next year, I'm happy to take him in the first.
How would it get better?
With better quarterback play.
Yeah.
From whoever plays quarterback there.
So you're just grabbing a random guy?
That would do it.
Yeah, that would do it.
That would improve their quarterback.
I don't need to know which quarterback today. I know what the base. It's not a baseline. What's below a baseline? What's the
basement?
The sub baseline.
The basement beneath it.
The basement.
I mean, your odds of better quarterback play are very high. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't matter who it is.
Even if it's bad
was
quarterback
Case
play.
Keenum all year long versus Nick Foles for half the year. I mean, that's my whole point. And they lost close games. They were 7-9. They got a great defense. They will improve. I just think.
And I guess my argument isn't necessarily their win-loss record, because I do agree that the Rams are very close, but they're not an offensive team.
No, but they are definitely a running team.
Sure.
We're going to debate this a lot, the whole Gurley thing, because, I mean, he was great. Matt in Iowa. Hey, guys, I'm creating a new league. I wanted to know what kind of league you guys would do. What kind of scoring, trade, deadline, keepers, etc. So maybe we should
each give a point?
Yeah, just share something we like about a good league. So
I will say scoring system. I am in
We're all in agreement.
We are huge advocates for the half-point PPR. It feels like the right sweet spot for giving value to the players that need it, but not overvaluing them. So I go half-point PPR, and I also prefer 6 points for quarterback touchdowns because quarterbacks are important in the NFL, and they should be in fantasy.
Yeah, I like 6 point per passing touchdown, so it doesn't disproportionalize the running quarterback situation where they're just so much more valuable. I like the balance there. In terms of keepers, I think we're all big advocates for keepers. There's a lot of reasons for that, but the main reason is just the fact that, we're here recording shows in February. If you're in a keeper league, there's a lot more relevance to you because you are paying attention all year long. There's a sense of ownership to your team that you don't get from non-keeper leagues.
You have a bad year, it still matters. Trade for keepers.
Yep.
Improve it that way.
So the one thing we do with keeper leagues, trade deadline-wise, because you bring up the trade deadline, is that we pull that up a little bit, maybe week 7, week 8, because we want to not put people in a position to just trade their keepers away for draft picks and basically tank late in the season and give all the leading teams great players. So we love keeper leagues. We pull the trade deadline a little bit forward.
Yep, and I like 2 keepers.
Sure.
Yep.
So that's kind of some of the the things we like about a league. Zach in Peoria, what can we expect from Josh Gordon this year? Where do you see him being drafted in comparison to the other wide receivers? And is the risk worth the reward? I think, let me see. Is the risk worth the reward? I think that the Browns have been asking that for years.
And they have held on to him through everything, and they will continue to because the risk is the reward is worth the risk. We'll know probably in the next 30 days whether or not Josh Gordon is going to be reinstated. That is the timeline about that left. In fact, I think less than 30 days left. Granted, the NFL does not always adhere to that timeline.
Sure.
87, 1646, and 9. That's what he put up last time he was healthy. And he missed, 2 games?
That is correct.
Yeah, so
87 for almost 1,700 yards and 9 touchdowns on the Browns.
Yeah, he is a super talent. So where do we see him?
And he's 24.
Where do we see him getting drafted? If this is a redraft league from scratch, he's probably, I think, going to go. I don't think he goes earlier than the 3rd. I think that's where you're going to find him.
I think 3rd round is where you're going to find him.
I'm all over that.
He could start doing this though.
Yes. For those
shooting up,
not on YouTube. Yeah, his arm was pointing up.
If you're in a league with me, he's likely not going to make it past the 2nd round. But I do agree with you guys that I think the general ADP, the 3rd round sounds about right.
Here's the interesting thing, though. If we're in a league with you and he's not going to make it past, it means you're going to draft him in the 2nd round.
Yeah.
Or you would. So you're saying you're going to take him over guys like potentially Sammy Watkins? Would you take Gordon?
Yes.
Would you take him over like Alshon Jeffrey?
Alshon, probably not. Probably not.
DT, I probably would.
I would.
Mike Evans, probably take him over Mike Evans.
You probably would.
Yeah. So I mean, that's going to be exciting.
Close.
Hopefully he can. I believe in Josh Gordon. I've come on here and said it many, many times. I do not believe he fits into the category of a off the rails type of. He's gone through the suspensions, but his demeanor, the way he talks about it after the fact, I believe he will be okay. That's where it's impossible for us to actually answer the question, is the risk worth the reward? Yes, if he doesn't get in trouble, and no, if he does.
And speaking for risk of reward, just think of like Martavis Bryant. Do you have any of those kinds of concerns about Martavis Bryant? Because you should.
Well, if you gave Martavis Bryant a 1-year suspension on top of what's happened already, then you'd be in the same.
Well, but the reality is, if he gets popped again, if he smokes weed, and gets popped, he's out for the year.
You're right.
He's gone. So you got to factor that in when you're drafting a guy like.
So I'm saying the risk is identical for both of them.
And they're both young and hyper talented, and they will have football teams as long as they're eligible to play football. JJ in Pittsburgh, I have the 2nd pick in my draft this year. It is a keeper league, so young guys go very fast. So my question is, I go young and take an elite like Elliott or Henry, so the two probably the highest projected running back rookies this year, like he did last year with Gurley, or does he take an established guy like Stewart or Forte wherever he lands? 4-player keeper league. Other keepers are Gurley, Green, Demarius, and Hill or Hyde.
Not with the 2nd pick.
I mean, we're very early for talking guys like this because we have no idea what their opportunity is.
We need to be very vague about this.
But I will say I prefer Elliott much more. I think that he is a monster. I have huge concerns for Henry to be an elite level running back at the NFL level. So Elliott probably. I'm okay with it if you really want to do that. Henry, no.
There's no way I'm going to say yes or no here because it's the landing spot and the role. TJ, if one of these guys had dropped into Jacksonville like Yeldon did last year in the later round, I mean, there's a value there that you can see right away.
But so let's say, I mean, like Elliott will be drafted in the first 2 rounds. So that means wherever he's getting drafted, he's getting an opportunity.
Sure.
To
no, you're right. No, that's fair. Most likely. But you also had guys like Gordon that were drafted early.
For my
they didn't have
taste,
the opportunity,
though,
we thought.
to his question.
Melvin Gordon?
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon had so much
Yeah,
opportunity.
he was given a crazy amount of opportunity. He just stunk with it.
Stunk.
But his offensive line also stunk.
Yes,
So
yes.
For JJ, I would say if I had the second pick in my draft, I would not probably I would personally rather go with a guy that I know you're going to have somebody that's valuable there, that you know what they do, you know they produce, a veteran like, you said Jonathan Stewart, or hopefully you can even have better than that. I don't know what your keeper situation is.
It's 4 keepers.
Right.
So there's a lot of guys off the board.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Stewart or, question mark
Zeke?
running back, I'm probably going to go with the Jonathan Stewart, personally.
Oh, that's fair.
Blake in Detroit. I'm in a keeper league where I can keep one player. I've narrowed it down to 3. Le'Veon Bell for a first, Julio for a second, or Gurley for a fourth.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a done deal for me, Gurley. Easy.
Oof.
Easy peasy.
Oof. It's between Julio and Gurley for me. I mean, because if you have Le'Veon Bell for a first or Todd Gurley for a fourth, I would go Gurley. I'm going to take the value of the 4th round pick at that point. But and Julio Jones, do you guys think Julio will be drafted in the 1st round?
He's going in the first right now. I
Yes.
think he'll be borderline first, maybe second.
I think first.
But
round.
the point is
what receiver will he be? Probably the 3rd off the board?
yeah, Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham,
And then Julio?
Yep.
So he's likely to be a 1st round pick. So you're not that matters
getting a
too much.
little
You're
bit of
getting some
value,
value,
but not a lot. I'm with Andy. I go Gurley in the 4th.
I think-
Keep your first 3 picks plus that running back that you get in the 4th. That's
yeah,
done.
I'll go Gurley here in the 4th.
All right, Nick in Portland, Maine, 10-team PPR league, keep 2 players. Rule 86, so Jordan Reed for a 10th, Thomas Rawls or Langford for an 11th, Allen Robinson for a 5th, Latavius Murray for a 6th.
Oof.
He won the league, says thanks to our advice, as well as 2 of his other leagues.
Oh, right on.
So he
Very
is
nice.
did a trifecta last year, so congratulations.
The trident of victory.
Right, the trident. Nick, congrats on that. As far as I'm concerned, I'm trying to decide on whether I want Rawls and Langford.
But if it's an or, he's saying he can only keep
okay.
one.
Okay. So I would... What are you guys thinking about Allen Robinson in this situation? Like, a lot of people are
like
going to
it.
be in this boat. Would he be 1 of your 2?
Allen Robinson in the 5th round is a very good value. He is in consideration.
I'd probably go Rawls and Robinson.
That's where I lean.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Although Murray in the 6th is, if they don't go out and sign Forte, I think Murray is an RB1 next year. You want to roll in with all your first picks, having Thomas Rawls and Latavius Murray, you're gonna be in a good situation.
But to me, it's like I don't think Latavius Murray is a locked and loaded elite running back for fantasy. Allen Robinson is, to me. We talked about we feel like he will regress, but he's still a top tier wide receiver.
For a 5th round pick, that's great value.
So I'm going Robinson and Rawls.
All right, Patrick in Dallas, Texas, and he puts a disclaimer here.
Ooh.
Patrick, board up your windows.
He said, hate the Cowboys, who dat nation, but he lives in Dallas.
Board up your windows and your doors.
He says, first off, I listened for the first time this past season. Love the podcast. It was a lunch ritual for him. Although I had Dalton and Rawls for the first week of the playoffs, it was a success, and you guys really helped me all year. But I never properly thanked you guys for all the great advice, so thank you. His question is this. With the number 1 overall pick in our 2nd-year Dynasty League, would you take Ezekiel, Elliott, or how do you pronounce that?
Laquon Treadwell.
Yeah,
Man, like we were talking about with the other rookies, this is going to be a landing situation. As everything that I have researched thus far is Treadwell and Elliott are kind of the alpha of their position this year. And when you're talking dynasty, you tend to lean towards the wide receiver just because of the life expectancy of their career. It'll be longer, but I mean,
so would you project Treadwell? Right landing spot. He can come out and be that year 1 Odell, AJ Green.
Not like that, just because he's such a different player. I mean, he's He's not a burner by any means.
But I mean, first year fantasy impact. Those guys had a big fantasy impact,
right?
Because are you projecting that into this, or are you're waiting on Treadwell?
Yeah, it's to me, I'm not doing it just for this year. I'm thinking longer term. Everything I've watched for Elliott though is this guy is going to be a beast. I really think I like him. I've liked everything I've watched so far from him. Not that's not a knock against anything that Treadwell has done.
Yeah,
but
I've read a few knocks against Treadwell. More against guys that I really respect because we aren't college experts here. We don't spend our time focusing on that, but we follow the guys that are experts. And some of the guys I respect a lot just say that this is not the year of the wide receiver 1 in this draft, and they include Treadwell in that. So
I would say if it's not the year, then would you say I'm going to take the one who is the highest probability of being the wide receiver 1?
It makes sense. I mean, again, this really depends on landing spot. But Elliott, I think, has a better chance of having a year 1 impact, and then he's still a young superstar.
Well, and the point here is that you don't want to, if the wide receiver class isn't as strong as we think, projecting that way, you don't want to lock yourself into a dynasty mentality. Well, I just have to take the wide receiver with my first pick. So I think Elliott is where we lean right now, but let's wait and see.
For now, that's
what the combine looks like and where these guys end up. All right, David in Edmonton, Canada.
Oh, bonjour.
Hey guys, looking to start planning my keeper league picks.
I love all these people in February who are like, I gotta lock in my keepers because
this is the Foot Clan.
Because you know what we talk about at lunch?
Locking in our
We're
keepers.
talking about our keepers.
Who's gonna be your franchise guy?
I was with some friends yesterday that I hadn't seen in a long time that we used to talk fantasy football all the time. And we were catching up on life, and no more than 8 minutes into the conversation of so much to catch up on. It was like he goes, "Well, I miss talking fantasy, and I've got this keeper dilemma that I'm going through right now." And then he started breaking it down, and it was like, "Man, it's February, but we're thinking."
Oh yeah,
like how are your kids? And they're still kids. Let's get to the good stuff. Do I keep Rawls in the 8th?
They're still kids, but I don't want to lose David Johnson, but I don't want to put him in my keeper lottery. So, all right. I lost myself
We're still on
here.
David. We're still on David here.
We get to keep 3 players that we've taken in the round that they were drafted in last year.
Okay.
If they were a waiver claim, we count them as our final pick in the next year's draft. So that's fine.
That's how
you
they
guys
do it.
are more disparaging of that than I am.
Yes.
I think that's a reward for doing good things.
That's stupid.
Well, you're stupid. All right. So for my opinions, wondering your guys' suggestions on who I should be keeping. So Lev Bell for a 1, Forte for a 2, Ivory for a 5th, Watkins for a 7th, Benjamin for a 10th, Joique was a waiver, and Langford was a waiver.
Oof.
Langford is locked and loaded.
Yep.
For
Langford
me.
is in for me. Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, it's between Sammy Watkins and Le'Veon Bell for me.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, I mean Le'Veon Bell. Sure, you're giving up your first
half point PPR too,
but you're giving up your first for
maybe the one
for one of the best running backs in the game and a high-powered offense. So there's nothing wrong.
I mean, he's no
with
Zeke Elliott, but
yeah, you
come on.
I'm just kidding.
You can't get enamored with draft position value over. Hey, let's just take the guy that might be the best player in the league.
Yeah, gotta have a balance.
So I think I'm gonna go Le'Veon Bell and Jeremy Langford.
You know what we're
and
going to do
who's
right
your
now?
Third. Is Sammy Watkins your third?
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize there were 3. Sammy Watkins, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, I love it.
Because he, to me, is like the next clear-cut guy.
Let's go back-to-back Canada here. Angelo in Toronto.
Bonjour.
I get to keep 3 of the following. Julio, David Johnson, and then so those are his no-brainers.
All right.
So he's deciding between Amari Cooper, Jordan Reed, Lamar Miller, Kelvin Benjamin, Travis Kelce. He's leaning towards Amari.
Yeah, that's where I would go with it as well. It would be between Amari and we have to see where Lamar Miller ends up. But I'm going to take Amari. I'm going to take Amari here.
I'm going Amari unless Lamar re-signs with Miami or goes to like Dallas or something, which I don't expect to happen.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Sean in Cincinnati. Who should I keep? Pick 4. Not sure of the penalty in the draft.
Okay.
All right. Well, neither are we. Eddie Lacy, Mark Ingram, Justin Forsett, Tyler Eifert, Randall Cobb, Devontae Parker, Tyler Lockett.
Oh, my.
It is a 3 wide receiver league with half a point per reception.
Okay, so that changes it a little bit, or that factors in, I should say, that's 3.
I'm going to lock in Devontae Parker, and I'm going to lock in Mark Ingram.
I'm going to lock in Ingram. Ooh.
I'm probably going to go Lacy then, too.
I can dig Parker. You would yeah, so you'd go Lacy over Lockett?
Yep.
Just the
for sure. I'm not gonna load up on Lockett plus Parker in the variable category.
Yeah. I like that thinking. I like that. I like that. Parker.
Wait.
You like that? Over Randall Cobb?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I was sitting here
I
going,
somehow glossed over that.
You know,
yes.
I know the value's going to be different, but if you're telling me in a redraft
Randall
league
Cobb is done.
where we don't know the value, and sitting on that board, you're telling me if Randall Cobb and Devontae Parker there in the whatever,
you're taking Parker in the wow.
I'm going Eddie Lacy
and
Randall Cobb.
This is a keeper decision. This is not.
Randall Cobb's not old.
No. All I'm saying is this decision isn't like they're both on the board and I have to take Cobb at his value versus Parker as a steal later. This is straight up keeper decision. I need to put these two guys on my team. I want my shares in Devontae Parker's future, and I think his presence is going to be pretty good too. And Randall Cobb showed me that he got paid and that he wasn't an elite number 1 in all circumstances. I don't dislike Cobb at the right value, but I'm going to go with Parker very confidently.
I'm going to expect
very confidently.
I'm going to expect the Green Bay bounce back. I'm going Mark Ingram is clearly locked in. I think Lacy is locked in, and I'm going Cobb over Parker.
You're not going to believe Jason has the Green Bay offense like with 4 to 5 times the fantasy points they had last year because Lacy has to go off next year. Cobb now has to go. You're going to keep telling me how many fantasy points do you think they're putting up?
I think they're going to put up enough to have those two guys have decent years.
What about Jordy Nelson?
And him too. What you're telling me?
Jordy Nelson just makes everyone else go up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
you should hear him talk about Richard Rodgers. He has him as number 1 next year.
Wait. 2 years ago, when Eddie Lacy was one of the best backs in the league, and Randall Cobb was one of the best wide receivers in the league, and Jordy Nelson was one of the best wide receivers in the league, you tell me that can't happen, even though it's already happened? Okay, case closed.
I'm pretty sure they were both wide receiver 1s. Aaron Rodgers was the top 2 guy. Eddie Lacy was top 5.
I just want to hear the next guy that's going to be up there.
All right, Kent.
Moving
on.
Minnesota. So you guys disagree with the Parker Cobb?
Well,
obviously.
that was like that's
just
a
saying they're on the
flamethrower.
same.
You have taken a flamethrower to the studio with your hot take.
I get the keeper.
Devontae Parker.
My team's going to be filled with Marcus Mariota and Devontae Parker next year.
But I mean, you're talking about a 4th-round pick versus a 9th-round pick.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about 2 keeper decisions.
Sure. But I'm saying you kind of are.
No, there's no way that Parker's a 9th-round pick next year. No way.
Hooliganry.
Yes,
we need to be very careful.
Hooliganry?
Yeah. We need to be very careful with our ADP presumptions here. They're not true. Well, as I said, Tim Tebow in one of our leagues, he's currently being drafted 20th at the quarterback position for
not in our leagues. In
one of our ADP sources, simply because of people having a little bit of fun.
When you draft this early, you don't really care.
Kent in Minnesota, what are your thoughts on pick trading in keeper leagues?
Love it.
My league is 3 keepers with no pick retention. 3 keepers are rounds 1 through 3 picks.
I like that.
If another team needs a better 3rd keeper, what pick should I be trading for, and should I bundle my own pick with a player? So let me ask you guys so I understand this. Is he actually everybody has to keep 3 keepers?
It sounds like it.
Okay, so it's very similar to the league we play in.
But it sounds like to me, Kent would be trading a player that he himself would not be keeping.
Correct.
So he still has to keep 3. So he's trading a 4th player over to another team to be kept.
And what pick should you be trading for when you bundle it? I mean, that is an impossible question because it depends on who your 4th best guy is and what value he represents. Go for
the thing is in this situation
you have nothing to lose.
You got nothing to lose. If what you're saying is right about his league, where he still gets to keep 3, I mean, it's like the difference between not having a pick for free or having a pick for free.
It's just the maximum that you can possibly get. The maximum pick swap. If you can get a 4-1 or the equivalent of that, then you do it.
Aim for a 3 outright because people are so reluctant to trade their 1st and 2nd, but as soon as you get to the 3rd, they're like, yeah, that's kind of
that's not bad.
Well, and the reality is, it's probably really worth it for them too. If they don't have a keeper to do that. So, Ryan in Oakland, a question for 2 different leagues.
Oh, come on, Ryan.
Sneaky. All right, actually 3/4 of a point. PPR. You can keep a player for 2 years, 1 round ahead of where they were drafted. Would you keep Gurley in the 3rd or Jordy in the 14th?
Oh, here you go, Mr. Gurley.
And it's Gurley.
Gurley, man.
Gurley.
Over Jordy?
You kidding me? You don't want to see what Gurley can do in year 2? You don't want the potential of that? What, Jordy's 31 this year? You're not going to take 1 more year of Gurley? He was a rookie, right? So you get to keep him for 2 years.
Yeah, let me check my sources. He was a rookie.
Yeah.
You got it.
You potentially have 1 more year Gurley after this?
As a second and then a first.
Oh,
so
that's just fine, man.
No, I'm not knocking you at all. It's just Jordy Nelson for free.
Yeah, it's tempting to me to take Jordy. It really is.
I'm gonna go Gurley here, though.
But yes, me as well.
Way to drum it up there. Auction keeper league, standard scoring $100 cap, keep up to 5.
Whoa!
Well, let's do this quick, guys.
Okay.
Evans for $12, Lockett for 4, Dez for 22, Jordy for 4, Kelvin for 4, Gurley 21, Latavius for 7, Dion for 4, Ivory for 6. We can't do this one quick, can we?
I'll do it quick. Gurley, Latavius, Jordy, Kelvin.
I don't know
Mike
why
Evans.
he likes Latavius so
I don't
much.
know.
Mike Evans. Yeah, I just did it. And not only did I do it, but I did it perfect.
You and Latavius Murray.
Dude, if they don't go and
don't
sign
get it.
a Matt Forte or someone like that, Latavius Murray's going to have a fine and dandy great year.
Dion Lewis
Like last
is there
year?
for
Yeah.
$4.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into we'll go with Jason's there for the sake of right now.
Smart.
Hun YOLO. Keep 3. ODB. So Odell Beckham Jr.
It's
Allen Robinson, Kelvin Benjamin, and Josh Gordon. Keep 3. Full point PPR.
Get rid of one.
I'm dumping Kelvin.
Me too.
I'm
riding the snake. I'm riding the snake with Josh Gordon.
What are you doing?
Ride the snake.
Oh, do I still have that?
Ride the snake.
Scott in Farmington, Minnesota. Guys, love the show. Been listening since last summer. Your advice got me 2 titles.
Yeah.
And into the finals in 4 or 5 leagues. That's pretty cool.
Nice.
Always like to hear that. Here's the question. He's used both NFL.com and ESPN.com for his leagues. He tends to like ESPN for the flexibility. However, his buddy's been looking for a website that allows even more flexibility than ESPN currently allows, i.e. draft pick trading midseason, more scoring flexibility. We tend to run keeper 2 or 3 leagues. Any help would be greatly appreciated. We answered this question on
our Patreon mailbag.
On the Join the Foot mailbag episode. And they asked the same type of thing. And we run leagues very similar to this. And what we actually have to do, there are some other third-party smaller sites out there, but we don't really use any of those. We use our own, basically, spreadsheet that we use to facilitate all of our off-season trading and keeper logging and things like that. And so that's something that I'm happy to make available to our listeners. It's kind of something that lets you quickly plug and play names. You can run mock drafts through it, and it helps you keep track of trades as well.
And then we run the league through ESPN.
Yes.
Yeah, we've used all the big scoring keeper sites. The Yahoo, NFL, ESPN. ESPN is still my favorite. It seems the most intuitive to me. Now, each site has things that I don't like about it, but ESPN is my favorite. And if I were you, Scott, I would go check out myfantasyleague.com. I can't speak that I'm personally I've used it for a ton of stuff. I've just done a couple mock drafts and MFL 10s, people.
They're fun.
Get ready. If you don't know what that is, go check it out. But they're a newer site where you can play on, and they're all about being very customizable and flexible. So you may want to check them out. They might have a solution for you.
Yeah, that is the one that came to mind. And it's always hard because if you find a flexible one, sometimes you still get put in a box a little bit because there's like one rule that you want, and then you're doing it manually anyway. That's where I've always run into is it's hard to find it to be perfect. All right, Simeon in Spencer, Wisconsin. Have you ever experienced an Odell Beckham Jr.?
Yeah, I've what? I've experienced.
Like draft pick.
Yes.
An Odell Beckham Jr. like draft pick.
I've experienced Odell Beckham Jr.
So have you picked someone that you predicted to be good, drafted him in the later ends, and he blew you away? So he just wants to know other situations that we've done that.
Yeah, I guess. Sure.
I will use any opportunity afforded me to talk about Arian Foster.
Oh man, that was beautiful because in that draft,
I want to tell
that
story.
All right.
Well, not that you can't tell the story. I mean,
we were battling over who we both believed that a running back who was not the starter for the Houston Texans that year would be the guy, and you were all over Arian Foster, and you were the only one.
And the best part, and I drafted him in the 7th or 8th round.
So everyone else was on Ben Tate?
Everyone else was on Ben Tate. But the irony and what makes the story great is that we held the draft on the last preseason game. And that preseason game was in Arizona, and it was the Texans against the Cardinals. And I drafted Arian Foster. And
so the draft was before the game?
Right before the game.
Okay.
I had tickets to the game. The guy who drafted Ben Tate drafted him a few rounds ahead of Arian Foster. I couldn't go to the game. I gave him my tickets.
I have not heard this
He
part.
went to the game and watched Ben Tate break his leg. And I had given him the tickets, and then Arian Foster had like a number 1 running back year on my team.
That was just brilliant. You
so
gave
that's
him
my
the tickets
story.
to his despair.
Oh man,
I don't think we're gonna top that story. But
no,
yes,
that's fantastic.
Every year we get some of these late round guys right, and they blow up, and it's what gets you to the playoffs.
Yeah. There are those, and there's not more fun than that than to get somebody late and be able to ride them. Like you could ride Gurley. Owners could ride him for like 4 or 5 weeks in the middle of the season last year.
Alshon Jeffrey's breakout year was a good one for me that I was really in love with beforehand and got him late.
And it didn't work out for me this year when I told everyone to draft him. However, 2 years ago, I told everybody I possibly could to draft Jeremy Hill.
That's true.
Ron in Connecticut. Hey, guys.
Hey, Ron.
I can keep a max of 4 of the following. In this league, you can only keep a player for a total of 2 years. First-round players usually go for around $75. It's
okay.
a $200 budget league, 14-team, PPR, and defensive players. So he can keep a max of the 4 of these guys. Ivory for $16, Martin for $20, Antonio Brown for $49, Allen Robinson for $9, Gronk for $36, Macklin for $22, Murray for $13, and Rawls for $4.
All right.
Easy peasy.
Latavius Murray.
Latavius Murray's in.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
All right.
I love that. No, he's not.
All right.
Screaming it.
Antonio Brown and Gronk.
Locked in, yes.
Okay, so we
Thank
need
you.
2 more
All
guys. Right. Thomas Rawls for $4.
And Doug Martin for $20.
Locked in. And
or Allen Robinson,
Robinson
for $9. Yeah, Allen Robinson for $9.
Yep.
It's
and
Rawls and Allen Robinson, Brown and Gronk for me.
Or in Jason's case, just Murray. He'll let the other guys go back.
Take Latavius Murray and save your case.
Listen,
save the cash.
You draft Murray, you win your league.
You win your league. All right, we're going to go to Tyler in Memphis. Tyler in Memphis, keep 2, 12-team, half-point PPR. AP in the first round, Eifert in the 14th, Watkins in the 15th.
Oh, come on now.
That's AP and
Sammy
AP and Watkins?
It's keep 2? It was Sammy
keep
Watkins. Yeah, I mean.
You're not keeping Eifert and Watkins and throwing AP back, are you?
No, I'm considering it. It's just a matter of knowing who is available. Because if you're going to get a guy like AP in the first anyways, or if there's an equivalent.
It depends where you pick.
Jason's ferociously shaking his head.
Yeah. No.
Well, I mean, if you draft. Okay, if you had the first pick.
Sure. I guess there is a
right?
chance if you know, hey, there's 3 great running backs going back in the draft, and I'm one of the top 3 picks, then I would consider
so there is a
Eifert
note
the
because he says, I have the 7th pick.
Oh, well, there you go.
If he doesn't keep Peterson.
I would keep AP then.
If he doesn't keep Peterson, he's looking at Des Bryant or LaShawn McCoy.
No.
AP.
Yeah, I'm not going to do all of that just to get Tyler Eifert. I really am not.
It's understandable. I'm good going AP.
All right, so that does it for today's show, guys. Make sure you stay tuned if you're on YouTube or if you have yet to go to YouTube. Check us out there. Subscribe to the show. We do a show after the show where we talk about anything and everything.
Are we talking about
for
a trailer
about 5
today?
to 10 minutes? We might be talking about some Game of Thrones. So stay tuned for that. Otherwise, we'll be back with the podcast on Tuesday with more good stuff. So thank you very much for listening to the Fantasy Footballers podcast. Check us out on Twitter at the FF Ballers. Check us out on the web, thefantasyfootballers.com, and we will be back with more fantasy madness next week.
Yes, goodbye.
I got to try an Odell Beckham Jr.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.